Warne and Keating the musical are often paralleled. How do the experiences compare? And do you think that Warne would have been possible without Keating?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Keating's been really, really great, really positive, and it's made a big impact on people's consciousness. Lots of things wouldn't have been possible. You know, people's reactions were pretty kind of in the theatre were pretty confused when I said I want to write Shane Warne the musical, because they don't have any connection to sport. That's why they're in theatre generally, you know, and also people in the arts, you know, kind of despise the attention and funding and analysis sports gets over the arts. So, you know, why you would want to write a piece about a sportsman, you know, and give more glory to sport was completely beyond them. But they saw potential and possibility because they saw Keating work, because he's an unlikely subject for a musical as well. And, you know, Keating meant that there was and because we had Neil Armfield who directed Keating working on this, and we had some other creative team, and Casey Bonetto, who wrote Keating, was the script editor on my show. There was a connection, you know, there was a sort of it wasn't, you know, and that connection really helped. I mean, it helped directly get Shane Warne involved, because James Erskine, his manager, was a big fan of Keating and a big fan of Neil Armfield and owned the CD. So we could kind of see how this could be positive for, you know, for Shane, and was the one that convinced Shane to come. So it really opened up doors in that respect, but no doors in the music theatre world. The music theatre world is like a little world all of its own, and, you know, a weird one. A weird one mainly for the fact that they think they're completely normal, and so it was very hard to audition people for this show, because music theatre performers were like, you know, oh, well, you know, Wicked's coming up and Jersey Boys is coming out and Billy Elliot. I don't know if I want to give up my availability to be in this untested show about cricket, which I know nothing about. And I had people I knew, you know, cancelling all over the place. You know, normally you have 5 or 6 cancellations a day. We had upwards of 20 or 30 cancellations in the audition room, and it was very hard. But it meant it was like a litmus test. If you got people walked in the door, you know, we knew they were either desperate or on board, and you could sort that out really quickly. So yeah, it's been really positive. It's really opened up a lot of doors. I mean, it means that a lot of them get compared, and I think they're pretty different. I mean, they occupy different worlds, you know, and also, you know, musicals in Australia are very rare, and people have a hard time adjusting to things. You know, it's not. Casey brings love when he writes. He really does. He wants everyone in the room to be going, yeah, and cheering the heroes and booing the villains. And it's, you know, that's the way he is in real life as well. You know, he just wants to create this kind of glow of joy and love. And, you know, my background is creating an aura of animosity and fear and sometimes depression and the odd laugh if I'm lucky. And so for me, this is the most, you know, joy-injected show I think I've ever written. But there are also moments where I really strive to, you know, make people feel. I like an audience to have a bit of both, a bit of push and pull, and to be made to feel, you know, upset by that kind of, by, you know, things that are raw and things that are hard to take. You know, I've always liked that. You know, comedy with a bit of darkness and a bit of sting.
Well, one thing that Warne has which Keating lacks are female roles. You know, and the role of Simone, I think, must have been the most difficult to write and to cast. I mean, there's so much on the record about Warne, but there's so little about Simone. Yeah. Yet you chose to make her not just the love of Warne's life, but also the kind of the moral compass of the whole musical. Now, what gave you that confidence to do that? And was it partly because of the performer? Because I know Rosemary Harris was a couple of years ahead of you over in WA,
Yeah,
and has been part of the show since its inception.
Yeah. Rosie was like one of the few performers. She came on board at the start, and I was looking for a Simone. And we've worked together before, and I really like. And she's you know, there's like really two kinds of performers. There are performers that come on board and, you know, kind of create problems, and then there are ones that come on and they just solve problems, you know, before you even have them. And she's certainly in the latter camp. Like, she's amazing and really great to work with. And from the first moment, just made that role her own, and really made it impossible for anyone else to be put in that role, where other actors kind of were like, you know, she just was in there straight away, and she really loved the role. And it's not a big role, but it has a really big impact, you know. And she's really right. She's kind of really on message in her motivations for doing it. But the role of Simone was kind of written. A lot of it was written before all the kind of endless new idea stuff. That sort of, was it New Idea or Woman's Day? I can't remember, something like that. Probably both. Which I didn't really read, and I wasn't really interested in. I mean, and it was after Shane had retired, so I wasn't that interested. But I thought, what I wanted to say was that you can transgress, and then you can go on TV and you can apologise for it, and you can say I'm sorry, and like, oh yeah, I made a mistake, and you can win back public affection, and people forget, or people get distracted and they move on. But when you go home to your house and your partner at night, you're going to have to face the music. And that's something that everyone has to do. It doesn't matter who you are, Everyone's got, if you cheat on your partner, you're going to have to front up and they're going to scream at you and you're not going to really have much to say except, yeah, I completely screwed it up. And so being able to see that on stage, it's funny that in the whole of that, whole of this saga that gets played in the media, no one ever thinks about, I wonder what that'd be like, So it's been great fun, but it's been really good to put that on stage, and people, you can hear a pin drop in that song when she sings "What About That, Shane?" Everyone's like, yeah, it's true, because just before he's gone on TV, refused to apologise and sung this song called, Shine Like Shane, which is like, no one's going to shine like Shane. I made the game entertaining and I did this and this and I'm a great cricketer, and what's me shagging someone else got to do with remembering how to bowl a flipper or set a field? And then, within the very next scene is, the chickens coming home to roost, which is good.
The night that I was there, of course, Warne was there, and you just wanted to see inside Warne's head at that very moment.
Because he would have done that for real. And this is my guess in song. So I'd love to know how those two, maybe I wouldn't,
Now, I've actually seen you bowl in the nets at the Yarras, and you
rusty.
haven't got the worst action I've ever seen. I understand that you've had tuition. What does it feel like to learn cricket's technique from a background of not knowing it? Learning it at a much later age than most of us do, and coming at it from a background in movement in theatre?
Humbling, maybe. I mean, it's difficult because, you go, okay, well, I've bowled a few balls in the backyard and at high school in my time, and I'm pretty much just straight ahead, medium pace, I think, is probably being generous bowler, and learning, trying to learn spin. It's just weird. It's like, okay, I'll do everything the opposite way and then try and spin the ball, and I could either get a bit of spin, bit of rotation, but no length, or get a length and no spin. I'm absolutely no idea how anyone kind of does that, and it's all muscle memory, Like, it's like, you learn to play the piano, but you know how to play piano from muscle memory, and that's what cricket is, especially something quite as deft as doing spin bowling. I didn't need to learn it enough so that I didn't look like a complete idiot on stage when I go to Terry and he says, "Show me how you want to hold it," and I go, like that. Even that looks pretty bad now. So yeah, it's tricky, and there's just no. You know what it's like when you get older and you're trying to learn new things? It's like, I tried to learn tabla in India, and I played for a week every day until, it's 7 lifetimes it takes to learn the tabla. So you go, there's a 3-year-old Indian boy going, you're like, what's the point?
Well, it's one of those things that you would actually struggle to articulate. It made me think, how would I go about explaining how you bowl verbally to someone who needed to pick it up overnight? And I struggled to think how you do it. I know that C.B. Fry, the great English coach, once said that the ideal preparation for learning footwork for batting was dance. He encouraged all batsmen to go out to learn to dance. But I can't dance.
Yeah. What's your footwork like?
It's all right. It's all right, but it's that kind of limited footwork. I know basically where to get things in the right position, and it's all from muscle memory, and it's all because I've been doing it for 25, 30, 35 years.
Well, I find it. I find batting really interesting, and the book that I was most interested in, apart from the Warne books, outside of that was Steve Waugh's book, and he had that. For a time, I was toying with a song with him. Here's this, he talked about his sense of focus and his degrees of focus, and how he could bat all day if he had kind of maintained a sort of a detachment, and then as a sharper focus, and then just as the ball was being bowled, super focus. And I just don't know how you can read a ball off the pitch and move your feet and move the bat. I mean, I just find that I swing and hope. That's what I do. I find that really amazing. You can read that. I mean, how do you know? I've got a natural talent for that, and then you work your ass off to get better at it, or you don't. I guess it's the same with any kind of advanced skill.
Did you get a sense of? I mean, I'd be interested in your outsider's impression of cricket. What sort of accounts for its character and its appeal? Do you think that you could actually get into watching it?
Yeah. I mean, I can get into anything. But I don't have a very advanced competitive sense. I grew up playing basketball and refereeing basketball, and I hated the competitive nature. I saw it do really ugly things to people that were otherwise quite mild-mannered and nice, and I had this epiphany where I just went, I can walk away from this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is a Saturday. And I saw it as more than just, suburban basketball was a lot of people living, fairly average, small lives. And this was an outlet for a whole lot of frustrations and angers. And I just went, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved in that. You know what I mean? And so it just never appealed to me, and I've always been terrified of competition ever since. And performing can be really competitive, and I've had performers that have been competitive with me, but it's not a race between people. I mean, with actors. And when I first graduated, there's this thing where there's always actors that would find out about an audition and then just keep it to themselves, so that nobody knew about it, or they would hide their notes, or they wouldn't lend you anything, and that was kind of, that was what they had to do to get their edge up. But I was sort of in a constant competitive battle with myself, really, and I'm pretty hard on myself, but I just have no energy competing with other people, because luckily there's no direct, you're not set up against people in the way you are in sport, so you can kind of go along having parallel existences and wins and losses, and it's just very difficult when you're comparing yourself to someone else's success, because people's, it's ridiculous. Someone could be the lead role on Blue Heelers for 20 years and win 1 million gold Logies, and then find themselves completely unemployed, completely ignored. So, life is long.
Eddie, finally, what does it feel like to have written a musical that John Howard could enjoy?
Oh, God. I never thought about that.
I expect to see him in the front row in Sydney.
Oh, shit. I've sold my soul. That's the price you pay, I guess. I'll have to see Johnny there. As long as he doesn't bowl, I suppose.
He's an off spinner, not a leg spinner. What does that tell you? Eddie Perfect, thank you very much for being on Slate TV today.
Cheers, Gid. Thanks for having me.